Let's bring this perfectly perfect meeting of perfection into a perfect session. Flaws. That's right. Nothing in this world is perfect. Even you. Yes, you. The one listening to this. You are also not perfect. But for the small price of $299.99 a month, you can waste your money into believing that you have reached perfection. But enough of me insulting my listeners for no reason whatsoever. By the way, I don't hate any of you. I'm sure you all have your own goods and bads. Just like with made-up characters and stories. Sure, you can try to have your character be flawless, but that takes away what could possibly make them even more interesting. Plus, a lot of readers may find it annoying if the characters are absolutely perfect. So in this week's episode, I'll be going over multiple traits that you can pick and choose in order to give your characters more personality. Granted, a lot of people may see these flaws as a good thing, so it really just depends on the person. Don't think I'm just seeing every single one of these as negatives. Before we get into it, I just want to say that this is a post from Instagram from an account at @AnyaWrites. They'll be tagged in the description for the Instagram listeners. Alright, now let's get into it. Absent-minded. Preoccupied to the extent of being unaware of one's immediate surroundings. Abstracted, daydreaming, inattentive, oblivious, forgetful. Abusive. Characterized by improper infliction of physical or psychological maltreatment towards another. Alcoholic. A person who drinks alcoholic substances habitually and to excess or who suffers from alcoholism. Addict. One who is addicted, as to narcotics or compulsive activity, gambling, drugs, sex, etc. List specific addiction. Aimless. Devoid of direction or purpose. Anxious. Full of mental distress or uneasiness because of fear of danger or misfortune. Greatly worried, solicitous. Arrogant. Having or displaying a sense of overbearing self-worth or self-importance. Inclined to social exclusiveness and who rebuff the advances of people considered inferior. Snobbish. Audacious. Recklessly bold in defiance of convention, propriety, law, or the like, insolent, brave, disobedient. Big mouth. A loud mouth or gossipy person. Bigot. One who is strongly partial to one's own group, religion, race, or politics, and is intolerant of those who differ. Blunt. Characterized by directness in manner or speech, without subtlety or evasion. Frank, callous, insensitive, brusque. Bold. In a bad sense, too forward. Taking undue liberties, or over-assuming or confident. Lacking proper modesty or restraint. Rude, impudent, abrupt, brazen, cheeky, brassy, audacious. Callous. They are hardened to emotions, rarely showing any form of it in expression, unfeeling, cold. Childish. Marked by or indicating a lack of maturity, puerile. Complex. An exaggerated or obsessive concern or fear. Cruel. Mean to anyone or anything, without care or regard to consequences and feelings. Cursed. A person who has befallen a prayer or for evil or misfortune. Placed under a spell or born into an evil circumstance and suffers for it. Damned. Dependent. Unable to exist. Sustain oneself or act appropriately or normally without the assistance or direction of another. Deranged. Mentally decayed, insane, mad, crazy, psychotic. Disloyal. Lacking loyalty, unfaithful, perfidious, traitorous, treasonable. Disorder. An ailment that affects the function of mind or body. List the disorder's name if they have one. See the mental disorder list. Disturbed. Showing some or few signs or symptoms of mental or emotional illness. confused, disorder, neurotic, troubled. Dubious, fraught with uncertainty or doubt, undecided, doubtful, unsure. Dyslexic, affected by dyslexia, a learning disorder marked by impairment of the ability to recognize and comprehend written words. Egotistical, characteristic of those having an inflated idea of their own importance, boastful, pompous. Envious, showing extreme cupidity, painfully desirous of another's advantages. Covetous, jealous. Erratic, deviating from the customary course in conduct or opinion. Eccentric, erratic behavior. Eccentric, bizarre, outlandish, strange. Fanatism, fanatic outlook or behavior, especially as exhibited by excessive enthusiasm, unreasoning zeal, or wild and extravagant notions on some subject. Fickle, characterized by erratic changeableness or instability, especially with regard to affections or attachments. Capricious. Fierce, marked by extreme intensity of emotions or convictions, inclined to react violently. Fervid, fierce loyalty, in a tearing rage, vehement dislike, violent passions. Finicky, excessively particular or fastidious. I did not pronounce that correctly at all. English. Fastidious, difficult to please, fussy. Too much concerned with detail, meticulous, fastidious, choosy, critical, picky, prissy, persnickety. Sounds like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. Fixation. In psychoanalytic theory, a strong attachment to a person or thing, especially such an attachment formed in childhood or infancy, and manifested in immature or neurotic behavior that persists throughout life. Fetish, quirk, obsession, infatuation. Flirt. To make playfully romantic or sexual overtures. Behavior intended to arouse sexual interest. Minx, tease. Fool's love. A person who is always falling in love or believes they are in love. For the wrong person or even multiple people, usually one after another, and typically love at first sight. Star-crossed, ill-fated love. Frail. Physically weak and easily broken or damaged, having delicate health, not robust. Feeble, breakable, sickly, dainty, brittle, fallible, imperfect, weak. Fraudulent. Given to or using fraud as a person. Cheating, dishonest, deceitful, crooked, underhanded. Gluttonous. Given to excess in consumption of especially food or drink. Voracious, ravenous, wolfish, piggish, insatiable. Gruff. Brusque or stern in manner of appearance. Crusty, rough, surly. Gullible. Will believe any information given, regardless of how valid or truthful it is easily deceived or duped. Habit. A rather revolting personal habit. List of habits involves picks nose, spits tobacco everywhere, drools profusely, bad body odor, etc. Hard. A person who is difficult to deal with, manage, control, overcome, or understand. Hard emotions, hard-hearted. Hedonistic. Pursuit of or devotion to pleasure, especially to the pleasures of the senses. Hoity-toity. Given to flights of fancy. Capricious, frivolous. Prone to giddy behavior. Flighty. Humorless. The ability to find humor in things, and most certainly in themselves. Hypocritical. One who is always contradicting their own beliefs, actions, or sayings. A person who professes beliefs and opinions for others that he does not hold, being a hypocrite. Idealist. One whose conduct is influenced by ideals that often conflict with practical considerations. One who is unrealistic and impractical, guided more by ideals than by practical considerations. Idiotic, marked by a lack of intelligence or care, foolish or careless. Ignorant, lacking knowledge or information as to a particular subject or fact, showing or arising from a lack of education or knowledge. Illiterate, unable to read or write. Impatient, unable to wait patiently or tolerate delay. Restless, unable to endure irritation or opposition. Intolerant. Impious, lacking piety and reverence for a god/gods and their followers. Incompetent, unable to execute tasks, no matter how the size or difficulty. Indecisive, characterized by lack of decision and firmness, especially under pressure. Indifferent, the trait of lacking enthusiasm for or interest in things generally. Remaining calm and seeming not to care, a casual lack of concern. Having or showing little or no interest in anything. Languid, spiritless. Infamy, having an extremely bad reputation, public reproach, or strong condemnation as a result of shameful, criminal, or outrageous act that affects how others view them. Intolerant, unwilling to tolerate difference of opinion and narrow-minded about cherished opinions. Immature, emotionally undeveloped, juvenile, childish. Impish, naughtily or annoyingly playful. Judgmental, inclined to make informed judgments, especially moral or personal ones, based on one's own opinions or impressions towards others, practices, groups, religions, based on appearance, reputation, occupation, etc. Klutz, clumsy, blunderer. Lazy, resistant to work or exertion, disposed to idleness. Lewd, inclined to, characterized by, or inciting to lust or lechery. Lascivious, obscene, or indecent. As language or songs, salacious. Liar, compulsively and purposely tells false truths, more often than not. A person who has lied or who lies repeatedly. Lustful, driven by lust, preoccupied with or exhibiting lustful desires. Masochist, the deriving of sexual gratification or the tendency to derive sexual gratification from being physically or emotionally abused. A willingness or tendency to subject oneself to unpleasant or trying experiences. Meddlesome, intrusive or in a meddling or offensive manner, given to meddling, interfering. Meek, evidencing little spirit or courage, overly submissive or complaint, humble in spirit or manner, suggesting retiring mildness or even cowed submissiveness. Megalomaniac, a psychopathological condition characterized by delusional fantasies of wealth, power, or omnipotence. Murderer, one guilty of murder, a person who unlawfully kills a human being. Killer, butcher, cutthroat. Naive, lacking worldly experience and understanding, simple and guileless, showing or characterized by a lack of sophistication and critical judgment. Nervous, easily agitated or distressed, high-strung or jumpy. Nonviolent, abstaining from the use of violence, can double as a merit. Nosy, given to prying into the affairs of others. Snooping, offensively curious or inquisitive. Obsessive, an unhealthy and compulsive preoccupation with something or someone. Oppressor, a person of authority who subjects others to undue pressures, to keep down by severe and unjust use of force or authority. Overambitious, having a strong excessive desire for excess or achievement. Over-emotional, excessively or abnormally emotional, sensitive about themselves and others, more so than the average person. Overprotective, to protect too much, coddle. Overconfident, excessively confident, presumptuous. Overzealous, marked by excessive enthusiasm for and intense devotion to a cause or idea. Pacifist, opposition to war or violence as a means of resolving disputes, can double as a merit in certain cases. Paranoid, exhibiting or characterized by extreme and irrational fear or distrust of others. Peevish, expressing fretfulness and discontent, or unjustifiable dissatisfaction. Cantankerous, cross, ill-tempered, testy, captious, discontented, crotchy, cranky, or ornery. Pest, one that pesters or annoys, with or without realizing it. Nuisance, annoying, nag. Pessimist, a tendency to stress the negative or unfavorable or to make the gloomiest possible view. Perfectionist, a propensity for being displeased with anything that is not perfect or does not meet extremely high standards. Phobia, they have a severe form of fear when it comes to this one thing. Dark spiders, those are two different things. Cats, tight spaces, etc. List-specific phobia. Practical, level-headed, efficient, and unspeculative. No nonsense, can double for a merit. Precarious, level-headed, efficient, and unspeculative. No nonsense. Oh, I read the top line. Precarious, dependent on circumstances beyond one's control, uncertain, unstable, insecure. Predictable, easily seen through and accessible, where almost anyone can predict reactions and actions of said person by having met or known them even for a short time. Proud, filled with or showing excessive self-esteem, and will often shirk help from others for the sake of pride. Rake, an immoral or desolate person acting without moral restraint who defies established religious, social expected precepts. A free thinker. Rebellious, defying or resisting some established authority, government, or tradition. Insubordinate, inclined to rebel. Reckless, heedless, headstrong, foolhardy. Unthinking boldness, without carelessness and disregard for consequences. Remorseless, without remorse, merciless, pitiless, relentless. Rigorous, rigidly accurate, allowing no deviation from a standard, demanding strict attention to rules and procedures. Sadist, the deriving of sexual gratification or the tendency to derive sexual gratification from inflicting pain or emotional abuse on others. Deriving of pleasure or the tendency to derive pleasure from cruelty. Sarcastic, a subtle form of mockery in which an intended meaning is conveyed obliquely. Sato Masochist, both sadist and masochist combined. Skeptic, one who instinctively or habitually doubts, questions, or disagrees with assertions or generally accepted conclusions. Seducers, to lead others astray, as from duty, rectitude, or the like, corrupt. To attempt to lead or draw someone away, as from principles, faith, or allegiance. Senile, showing a decline of deterioration of physical strength or mental functioning. Esp, short-term memory and alertness, as a result of old age or disease. Scoundrel, a wicked or evil person, someone who does evil deliberately. Selfish, concerned chiefly only with oneself. Self-martyr, one who purposely makes a great show of suffering in order to arouse sympathy from others, as a form of manipulation and always for a selfish cause or reason. Self-righteous, piously sure of one's own righteousness, moralistic, exhibiting pious self-assurance, holier than thou, sanctimonious. Shallow, lacking depth of intellect or knowledge, concerned only with what is obvious, or astonishment. Timid, tends to be shy or quiet, shrinking away from offering opinions or from others and newcomers, fearing confrontations and violence. Troublemaker, someone who deliberately stirs up trouble intentionally or unintentionally. Ugly, very unattractive or unpleasant to look at, offensive to the sense of beauty. Displeasing in appearance, uncomely, unsightly, unlovely, homely. Unlucky, marked by or causing misfortune, ill-fated, designed for misfortune, doomed. Untrustworthy, not worthy of trust or belief, backstabber. Unpredictable, difficult to foretell or foresee. Their actions are so chaotic it's impossible to know what they're going to do next. User, a person who uses something or someone selfishly or unethically. Vain, holding or characterizing by an unduly high opinion of their physical appearance, lovers of themselves, conceited, egotistic, narcissistic. Weak-willed, lacking willpower, strength of will to carry out one's decisions, wishes, or plans, easily swayed. Withdrawn, not friendly or sociable, aloof. Whore, harlot, a prostitute, a person who is considered sexually promiscuous, considered as having compromised principles for personal gain. Zealot, an excessively zealous person. Fanatic. And that is everything for this week's Old Average meeting. Just remember that this is off of a post. I didn't come up with all of those definitions myself. And remember that some of these things can be seen as positives as well. So just don't think that every single one of these traits are negative. And it depends primarily on the person who you ask on if the certain characteristic is positive or negative. For instance, someone who is seen as, say, timid may be seen as a more positive trait because they're not going to, say, anger others for speaking up continuously. So, anyways, check out my novels Death Chill, Flame Rip, and Arctic Blaze on Amazon and Kobo, link in the description. Check out the Creative Writing Club Discord server in the description. Check out the Creative Writing Club Instagram at creativewriting_club. Check out my personal Instagram at dark_night_wolves. And let us go on with our flawed yet perfect lives.